Hey everybody, it's Lighthouse Friday, and early January is the perfect time to prune back your Paniculata hydrangeas. This pretty plant is the showstopper outside of the lighthouse, and I'm going to prune it back, show you what I do to make sure that this spring it's going to be just as pretty as it was last year. All right, let's get to it. Okay, so the first thing to know about pruning this kind of hydrangea, Paniculata hydrangea or limelight, is that the blooms grow on new growth. So it's totally different than the pretty pink and blue hydrangeas that we grow and a lot of people grow all over the world, because those the blooms grow on old growth. So here's what I do on this kind of hydrangea that blooms on new growth. So you take a big, strong growth stem like this and cut it back just above the second node. And new growth will come from there. And I'm going to do that all around where there's strong old growth. Now where there's weak old growth, I'm just going to cut it right back to the branch that connects to it. Like this, for example, is weak new growth. So I'm just going to cut it all the way back. This is weak. This is weak, so I'm going to cut it back. Weak. This one here is strong, so I'm going to give it 2 nodes and cut above that. 1, 2, cut. One of the last remaining blooms from last year's season, and look how many little flowers on there. They start out kind of green, and then they turn white. And a lot of people will use them for dried flower arrangements. They're really pretty to bring inside the house when they're all dried, or when they're fresh and blooming. You also want to make sure you prune anything where there's stems that are crossing, like this one. See that? Get rid of So I've made some pretty good progress on my structure, but I want to point out something to you. So if you look at it, it's kind of domed over, but this guy right here is still a little too tall. So in order to balance it all out, I'm going to cut him down even more. So there's the second node. Okay, so I feel pretty great about this as a structure, setting it up for success for tall stems, big blooms come, late spring, early summer. All right, so there's one other thing I want to show you. It's really cool. The only way I've had success propagating these Paniculata hydrangeas is by layering. So layering is when you take a stem that's still attached to the plant, like this one here, and you bury it. So you dig a hole, push it down into the ground, put some bricks on top of it, and let it sit for a year. And then the next year, when you come back about this time, you would snip the stem and then dig this up, and there'll be a bunch of roots growing down into the ground. You can pot that up and get a brand new plant out of it. This year was the first time I've successfully done it. I'll show you the pots in just a minute. But so what I've done is I've kept this branch on here so that I can layer it. And I've also kept this other branch on here, this one here, so that I can push that one down, dig a little hole, cover it with dirt, and get some new plants next year. All right, welcome to the greenhouse. And these are the 2 Paniculata hydrangeas that I propagated last year. Just dug them up this morning and potted them up with a nice strong root system for 2 brand new hydrangeas. We'll see how they bloom later on this year. All right, that's a wrap for another episode of Lighthouse Friday. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.